Hi, I'm Lena from Lena's Music House. So I believe music is for everyone. It's not just for talented people, but everyone can learn music. So a lot of beginners face a lot of problems and struggles when they first start music lessons. And it can be very hard to overcome these. So today I would like to discuss with you the top 5 common mistakes that beginners face and how you can overcome them and continue with your musical journey. The first beginner mistake is playing with tension. So what does that mean? This is how Verily sounds like with no tension. And this is what it sounds like with tension. As you can see before, when I was playing the music with no tension, I was playing smoothly and flowing through the piece. And when I played with tension, I was just hammering out all the notes and just trying to get the notes right. And that's what beginners do. They just try to get the notes right and then neglect everything else. So when you're playing music, you need to get the notes right and make it flow and smooth. That's how you play in a much more natural way, so it's much more easier and enjoyable for you. A way to fix this problem is to try to sit at the piano so that you are at a distance where you have room to move your arms when you're playing the piano, so that you're not too close to the piano or too far away. So that's one way of fixing this problem. Also, make sure that if you do feel really tense and you're playing like this, that you might need to just walk away from the piano and just shake it out a little bit, stretch it out, stretch your legs, just take a break from the piano and then come back. And then when you're playing again, make sure that your seat is adjusted okay, just right distance from the piano, and the height of the chair counts as well. So if you're playing where your arms are too high above the keys or too below, then that also creates tension as well. So just remember that you have to play at a comfortable distance from the piano and that you have room to move and do whatever you like. It has to feel natural. That's the key. The second beginner mistake is playing from start to finish. A lot of beginners, when they first start a music piece, they start from the beginning, and then when they get to a bar they don't know, they brush through it and then continue on all the way to the end. And the problem with this is that the problem is still there. If you go through it 100 times, you're still going to brush through those few bars and go to the end. So when you're practicing, you need to focus on those few bars that you're not good at, get it right, and then you can spend your time enjoying playing the piece from start to finish without panicking over those few bars all the time. You may know this next piece I'm going to play. It's a very famous piece by Mozart called Turkish March. So a lot of the students, they like the opening sound and love to learn this piece and just start from the beginning. So it sounds like this, the opening. So that's what a lot of the students start with. And when I'm practicing, I know there's a part in the music that I usually have trouble with and I tend to make mistakes. So I would start from there first, very slowly, so that I can just get it right before I move on and go back and play all the easier parts. So this is the part that I would practice first. And that's what I would do first. So the hardest part that I'm much more weaker on and I'm worried that I might have trouble with when I have to play from start to finish. So the reason why we have to start from the part that you're not good at first is because everyone, when they start from the beginning, you can tell when you're playing the opening it's really good, and then once you get to the middle bit and the last part of the piece, it starts to get really messy. So to the listener, it's very obvious that you played from start to finish again and again. So you're not fixing the problem that you're not good at. So what you should do is maybe start on the last page first and practice the last page more, and then slowly work your way back up to the opening. And that would help you have a much more better flow overall. The third beginner mistake is playing faster than what you can manage. So a lot of students, when they pick up a new piece, they try to play it just like what they heard on YouTube or on the recording. So I'm going to use the Turkish March piece again as an example. So this piece is very famous and it's really fast. So a lot of the students try to play it just like the performance speed, like this. And as you can see, I was doing well for the first 2 bars, and then when I got to the parts that I weren't good at, I started to get a bit messy, I slowed down, I stopped so that I could see what the next few notes were. And that's what happens with a lot of beginners. They just play so fast to replicate that speed that they know in their mind what they listened to, and they can't do it. So they ends up becoming very choppy, and you stop here and there. So how you should practice it is slowly play at a speed that you can manage from start to finish for the first line or two. So this is a speed that I will do when I first pick up a piece. A very slow speed that I can do everything well. So I would go through this slowly a few times, get it right, and then I'll slowly speed it up. And so I actually had a few wrong notes in the last bar there. So I would have to go through it again a few more times at that speed before I then speed up a little bit more. And that's how you should practice. Start slow, get it right a few times slowly, then slowly increase the speed. So many beginners hate playing slowly. I do too. So when you play so slowly, there are some parts that you're really good at and you feel like it's taking forever. So what happens is, when you play slowly, your mind has more time to think about what's coming up ahead. And that's the thing with playing piano. You have to actually know what's coming up a few bars ahead. A lot of beginners make the mistake of just looking at the note that they're playing and that's it. You always have to be a few notes or a bar ahead so that you know what's coming up, so you don't always stop to look at the next few bars, then continue playing. So the good thing about playing slowly is that you have the time to look ahead, to keep the music flowing and to keep it going so that you prevent playing the wrong note. And that's the key. You don't want to have any mistakes. You want to be on top of it, and you don't want to play a mistake and then go, oh, okay, I made a mistake. Well, let's try it again. So you want to avoid that. Just play it perfectly every time. Have the time to look ahead and know what's coming up. The fourth beginner mistake is not playing scales. So scales are little exercises we do on the piano. I'll give you a few examples of scales. The first one I'll play is a major scale. And this one's a chromatic. And then this one's a broken chord or an arpeggio. So A lot of these pedros and scales are used in your pieces, and with beginners you have to start from this to get to this level. And as you can see, there's a big contrast from what I was playing before to what beginners have to start with. And that's the reason why a lot of beginners don't like playing scales. This piece I'm going to be playing is the Mozart Piano Sonata, number 15, K545, first movement. Do you see something familiar? So as you can see in the music piece, there's parts of a scale or the entire scale in it. So if you practice your scales, you'll be able to play all this very easily. It's actually very easy, these pieces. It just looks hard. If you know your scales, then you'll be able to play all of it effortlessly. So the thing is, a lot of beginners don't like playing scales because you have to start from playing one hand at a time, slowly. Even to me, that's very dry and boring. But then you need to actually start from here, then slowly play it 2 octaves, which is up to here. And then after you've mastered that, then you have to play 4 octaves, which is much longer. So you start down here. So it's a step-by-step process to get to this. So you have to go from just one hand at a time, very slowly or under control. So a lot of the times when you're looking at a piece of music, there's a lot of notes in it. So you can see that there's a lot of notes here and there, but they're all scales. They're either a major scale, minor scale, and a broken chord. So if you actually can relate your music to an actual scale, you'll find that you'll learn the pieces much quicker. The 5th beginner mistake is not practicing enough. And this is the biggest beginner mistake because a lot of the students and beginners underestimate the amount of work that's involved to get better. Just like learning cooking, driving, or sports, you need to practice every day. It needs to be part of your life. The problem with not practicing enough is that a lot of beginners think that by going to their weekly lesson is enough. It's just like going to school every day, going to your tutoring class and attending your weekly lessons. That's passive learning. And by doing nothing, you don't automatically improve just by attending the lesson or going to school. You actually have to practice outside of class. You need to make time to practice or whatever the teacher sets in lesson to get you to improve for the next time they see you. You won't be able to move on from there. So the biggest problem is practice is commitment, and many of us are afraid of commitment. So it's hard enough to have a teacher telling you what to do every week. So for a student that has no teacher, they have to motivate themselves and practice every day and just try to set goals for themselves instead to be able to improve. And a person who learns on their own, who practices every day, will always do better than a student who goes to their weekly lesson and not practice at all. For some reason, many students fear practice, but it's not something you should fear, but something you should look forward to. Practice shouldn't be feared. It's something that helps you overcome fear. So if you are afraid of playing in front of your teacher, practice more so you have the confidence to play in front of your teacher. If you are scared of performing in public, practice more so you have the confidence that you've overcome your mistakes to perform in public. It all comes down to practice, and the more you practice, the more confident you'll become. Not practicing enough is the #1 mistake, but it's the easiest to fix. All it takes is time and commitment. And if you can't commit, then you need to be realistic with your expectations. There are many reasons why students struggle with music and drop out. These top 5 beginner mistakes are common reasons why students struggle with music. But if you put in the time and effort to work at it, you'll be able to overcome these obstacles. I'm Lena from Lena's Music House. Thank you for watching and see you next time.